Hi friends, hi strangers on YouTube. This is called Escaping Staten Island. I bought this picture when I was about 15 or 16 because I had big dreams of living in New York City, and now I live in Staten Island. Do I take every opportunity to get off Staten Island? Yes. But don't get me wrong, I love my apartment. But sometimes, especially when you live right next to New York City, you just got to get out and live. And that's exactly what I wanted to do after days of being shut inside, barely able to breathe because of Canadian fires. And I count myself lucky for living a hop, skip, jump away from the ferry station. And this is something I'll never get used to about living in the United States, is people just throwing their trash on the ground. I try to show up at the ferry station with just a few minutes to spare. I really don't like just hanging around the place. It's a little sketch, but for the most part, you mind your business, people will mind theirs. Ah, there she is. And if you're lucky, you'll get a picture with Miss Liberty herself.
Myself somebody else. I'm gonna have to cook. I'm gonna have to wash.
It's not a secret that in New York City, there's an endless, ridiculous amount of things to do and see. The buildings are spectacular. Every street is filled with art. Everywhere you look, it's just incredible. And then, all of a sudden, you just walk upon a Ghostbusters convention. Or it possibly could have been extras for the new Ghostbusters film, because I have read that they are doing another one. Or this could have just been a meet and greet. I'm not really sure. That's what I love about New York City. You just don't know what you're going to get. And one of the things I really love about it is it reminds me of home with the old architecture, with the history mixed with the modern world, and I love it. Or you can just go and see a Broadway show for the heck of it, which I finally got to see my very first one, and it was amazing. And then this day, my husband and I decided to go check out this Summer Stage, where they have free concerts in Central Park. Or actually, they have them all over in different parts of the city, and this one happened to be in Central Park, and it was the Australian barbecue theme. So it had a lot of Australian artists. I have to be completely honest, I didn't know a single one of these artists before we showed up, and there was some that just really, really blew my socks off.
What am I missing?
I think my soul just left my body. I mean, am I right? His voice just blew my mind. Gorgeous, wonderful show. And this is Peach or Peaches, I can't remember, so please forgive me, but her fans showed up and showed out. Hands down, this was my favorite group. I'm not sure if they call themselves 1300 or 1300, but they're phenomenal. I highly recommend checking out their YouTube page and seeing for yourself how good their music is, because they're really doing something exciting and unique, and I love their sound. I mean, they're rapping in English and Korean. That's pretty dope. And then this happened, Amy Shark, and a lot of people really liked her music, and it just isn't my jam. It was sad white girl rock music, and it just wasn't for me. And then this happened, and I'll say that this is a pretty accurate visual of what I was feeling in this moment in time. It had been a long day and well, it was about to be a very long night. Lots of drinking. So it was time to go back to Staten Island. But after a long night of drinking and partying, it is always nice to relax with my fur babies. While Staten Island is not my ideal borough to live in, it is what it is. So, sure, Staten Island wasn't part of my plans when I was a little girl in Germany dreaming of living in the big city. But, it is what it is. And I could live in a lot of worse places, like, I don't know, Delaware. I'd love to live in one of the other boroughs, but it's like I could live in worse places like the South. Below in the description, I'll have some links to people who give you a little bit more historical facts or interesting facts about Staten Island itself. But this is just more of like a personal opinion or, yeah, like a, a perspective from a new person living in Staten Island and New York City for the very first time. So I don't know what it's like to actually live on the South Shore or in the middle part of Staten Island. I live on the North Shore, and if I had to live any further in, I would not be about that life. I much prefer being on the North Shore only because of the fact that it takes 25 minutes on a free ferry to get to Manhattan, and from there I can get to anywhere. There's multiple lines of the subway for me to be able to get to pretty much any borough that I want to. So the convenience of living just on the edge is one that I am so grateful for because it is impossible to get around Staten Island without a car. The public transportation is not as frequent or as plentiful as the other boroughs. And Staten Island is the only borough that is not connected by the subway. So your ferry is your best bet to get over there free of charge. You can get to Midtown, also about 2 minutes walk away from the free ferry to pay $4 to get to Midtown or to Battery Park. So there's two stops on that ferry, and it's super convenient and it's a lot more comfortable and relaxing because it's got a bar and snacks, and there's just a lot less people on it because, of course, it costs money. So all the tourists take the free ferry to see the Statue of Liberty, and then they jump off and run directly back to get onto the ferry again and go back to New York City. Some do check out the outlet mall here, but let's be real, most people want to shop in New York City. Another benefit or cool thing that I find about living in Staten Island is that your um, living situation is a little bit more perhaps comfortable. I think for what you pay for $3,000 in New York City is a box compared to what if you're paying $3,000 over here in Staten Island. At least for us, that's the experience. Um, we get multiple bathrooms, multiple rooms, in unit washer and dryer. And to me, my friend, that is a benefit on a high level. And one of the cool things of living in Staten Island. Yesterday, I found out that a 20-minute drive and I'm at the beach, my friend. Now, would I actually swim in the water? No, but that goes for pretty much anywhere I am in the world. I'm much more inclined for chlorinated water. It feels more sanitary to me. And I also, in pools, I can actually see, you know, to the bottom. Natural waters or even those man-made lakes, like, once I'm not able to see my actual feet, it's a no-go for me. I've never been a wilderness type of girl. Yeah, that's amazing. In 20 minutes drive, I can be at the beach and enjoy just a really cool, tranquil atmosphere. And if I look behind me, I can see the tops of skyscrapers, see a beautiful bridge, and it's just quite unfortunately, there's no like restaurants or bars or like some life, and that's another thing that is disappointing about Staten Island as one of New York City's boroughs. It's nice to have something so close by where I can escape on a Sunday for a few hours and feel like I'm on holiday. I think that's a win. Another cool thing about living on Staten Island is that you have everything you could possibly need. Unfortunately, you have to get that all done by car, but you have a gigantic mall in the middle of Staten Island. So if that's your thing, great, wonderful. Your Home Depot, your, grocery stores, everything possible. It just doesn't have that life and vibrancy that the other boroughs have. And that's one of the things that is disappointing in some ways, but in other ways, I can see how sometimes, it might be kind of a nice um change to the busy, you know, overcrowdedness of New York City. Leads me to another, thing that I've experienced while living here is that I like to just spontaneously like go for a walk or get out and do something, explore whatever. Um, and my husband is traveling 99.9% of the time for his work. And I know he just likes to be still. So going all the way to New York City and like running him through the streets is not always ideal. And I found that Staten Island has amazing parks. I mean, just really beautiful. And you'll find that probably out in one of the links that I've provided because Staten Island is known as the greenest borough out of them all. And I have had conversations and I've overheard people being really proud of the fact that they never leave Staten Island. They work here, they live here, their lives are here, everything is here. And they say no need, they have no want to go anywhere in any of the other boroughs. My personal opinion is that Staten Islanders, you know, want to be known as the forgotten borough because they want you to forget about them, because they want to be left alone. Staten Island is like the most average of the boroughs. Like, it's just simple. It's like easygoing. It's not at all like any of the other boroughs. It just doesn't have that kind of vibrancy, personality that you'll see in Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, any of that. It's just regular. It's regular Joes, regular schmoes doing their thing. And quite frankly, they're not hurting nobody for the most part. Like I said, Staten Island is not the worst place to be. You can, when you want to escape, you can jump on the ferry free of charge. Is it sanitary? Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. But as a frugal bitch, be grateful that it's available. And, if you got a $4 or more to spend on the quick ferry, the more luxurious ferry with a bar and snacks, then, there's another route to get off this place. And if you're feeling, you know, brave, you can drive your car across the bridge. And if you want to get your health on, you can walk or bike across it. Where there's a will, there's a way. And when you want to escape Staten Island, there's many, many escape routes. You just got to find the right one that works for you. So, really, the drawbacks that I find in living in Staten Island is that you need a car to get around. But if you're going to spend most of your time in the other boroughs, then I highly suggest living on the North Shore because, like I said, it's it's the key to freedom. Okay, you live any further in, and it's going to take you an hour or more to get here. And like I said, the public transportation is not great, so you can't count on that. I'm sorry. One of the things that does concern me about living on Staten Island is that my time living here will not be counted towards um, calling myself an official New Yorker, So that scares me a little bit because I'm not embarrassed about living on Staten Island. Am I ashamed to live on Staten Island? Sometimes. And it's not because of my own feelings towards it. I would say 2% of the shame of living on Staten Island comes from myself because I so desperately want to live in one of the cool boroughs and have that like city experience. The other 98% of that shame is put upon me from the looks that I get from people when they ask me, "Oh, which borough do you live in?" And I say, "Staten Island." And that's the face that I usually get, this, and it's like, I don't know if they feel sorry for me or if now they're considering this conversation and how to get out of it. I don't know. I don't know. The vibe I get when I tell people that I'm living on Staten Island is what makes me have even the thought about talking about Staten Island in itself. Plus, I'm unemployed and I have a lot of time. So, would I organize or would I plan travel my vacation to include Staten Island? Probably not, unless I was here for an extended amount of time where I had just like days that I needed to fill. Like I said, check the links below and you'll find that there are some interesting things, like historically, and a lot of things to see in Staten Island if you've got, you know, the want to do that. Well, living in Staten Island is not the worst thing that could happen to someone. So, living on Staten Island is not the worst thing that ever happened to me. This is not what this video is like, oh, weeaboos, poor me. It's more just like, hey, this is what it's like. It's about sharing my experience of living in Staten Island because when I was doing my research before we moved here, I didn't find a lot of, people sharing their experiences living here. I saw like, informational videos, articles about, um, general facts about Staten Island or things to see and do in Staten Island. But as far as a living experience, like the day, what's the worst of it? What's the best of it? I hadn't really seen. So as of right now, haven't lived here a full year. But is it super convenient to have to jump on the ferry to get to the city all the time? No, but it's not the worst either. Because where I lived in Germany, I lived in a small town and I had to ride a streetcar all the way into the city, which took about, I think, 25 minutes or longer to do. And you know what? It wasn't the worst. Pop in some music, read a book, if you're with some friends, crack open some drinks and like have a good time. I'm not that bothered by it, and especially that it's cost cost nothing. I wanted to say kostenlos, which means no cost in German, but it like whatever. The most I know are these really harsh stereotypes of Staten Island. Sure, I've kind of bumped into some of these like um stereotype people, but I don't use that to judge them or to have preconceived notions about them because in actuality, everybody that I've come across has been super friendly, both in the city and in Staten Island. Um, we went to a comedy show at the St. George Theater here. We talked to several people during intermission, before the show, after the show, and everybody was just wicked friendly. And these are where I got these conversations where I got a little bit of perspective of what um, real Staten Islanders think and feel about living here or their feelings on New York City. So it was really, really interesting. And they were very open and they were very nice. So don't have any harsh feelings or, negativity towards Staten Island. I'm enjoying my time here. And yeah, let's just hope it counts towards my time of becoming a New Yorker officially. That's all. I hope. Please.